This video is an eye-opening video to everyone that is using dollar. According to Professor Jiang, what he said concerning dollar will open your eyes. In fact, watch this video to the very end. You will hear something you need to know concerning the petrodollar and what will happen if you keep using dollar. Let's watch.
This video explores the death of the petrodollar, a financial system that quietly controlled the world for 50 years and is now unraveling. Pull a dollar bill from your wallet. It's mostly cotton and linen, worth almost nothing on its own. Yet farmers in Brazil, oil sheikhs in Saudi Arabia, and factory workers in China all accept it. Why? Because the world agreed to believe in it. That belief is the real story, not economics, printing presses, or interest rates, but power and the clever deal of 1974 that gave the American dollar a second life. This was the birth of the petrodollar system. After 5 decades of supporting the global economy, the system is now cracking, not in a dramatic way, but through a slow, structural unraveling that affects your savings, retirement, and the cost of everything you buy. To understand the petrodollar, we need to go back further. In 1944, with World War II still raging, 44 Allied nations met at a small resort in New Hampshire called Bretton Woods. They created a system where the global financial order would revolve around the American dollar. Other currencies were pegged to it, and the dollar itself was pegged to gold at $35 per ounce. The U.S., untouched by the war and holding more than half of the world's gold reserves, was a natural anchor. For 25 years, the system worked. Trade expanded, economies rebuilt, and the dollar became the language of global commerce. But problems arose as America began spending beyond its means. Vietnam War, domestic programs leading to chronic deficits. Other countries started doubting whether the U.S. really had enough gold to back its currency. France led the challenge, demanding gold in exchange for dollars. This pressure drained U.S. gold reserves. French economist Valéry Giscard d'Estaing had already named the dollar's unique advantage in the 1960s, the exorbitant privilege. It allowed America to print the world's reserve currency, fund wars, buy foreign goods, and live beyond its means while the rest of the world absorbed the cost. By the late 1960s, this privilege was being questioned. On August 15, 1971, President Richard Nixon ended the dollar's convertibility to gold in what became known as the Nixon shock. The dollar now relied solely on trust in the U.S. government, causing instability. Currencies fluctuated, inflation spiked, and the global financial rules dissolved. The big question emerged: how could the world continue using a currency with nothing backing it? The answer came from an unexpected direction. The 1973 Yom Kippur War led the U.S. to support Israel, prompting OPEC Arab nations to impose an oil embargo. U.S. gas stations ran dry, and oil prices quadrupled from $3 to $12 per barrel by early 1974. Suddenly, countries like Saudi Arabia held massive amounts of surplus dollars, petrodollars earned from selling petroleum. The U.S. recognized an opportunity. By pricing oil in dollars and encouraging OPEC to reinvest their petrodollars in American markets, the dollar gained a new kind of backing, not gold in a vault, but energy, the one commodity every country consumes daily. This clever deal cemented the petrodollar system, reshaping the global economy for decades. In 1974, Treasury Secretary William Simon traveled to Saudi Arabia. On June 8th, the United States and Saudi Arabia signed the Joint Commission on Economic Cooperation, establishing a framework to deepen economic ties. It channeled Saudi investments into American projects and offered Riyadh U.S. arms and security guarantees. Alongside the formal agreement, historical accounts consistently describe an informal understanding. Saudi Arabia would continue pricing its oil in dollars and recycle its surplus dollars into U.S. Treasury bonds and financial assets. A viral story in 2024 claimed a secret 50-year petrodollar treaty had expired. Fact-checkers and historians found no evidence of any formal treaty requiring Saudi Arabia to price oil exclusively in dollars. The Joint Commission existed and eventually lapsed, but it carried no such clause. The informal arrangement, however, was real and far more fascinating than the legend. By the mid-1970s, the petrodollar system was in motion, one of the most elegant financial constructions of the modern era. Step 1. OPEC nations sold oil priced exclusively in dollars. Any country needing energy, from Japan to Germany, India to Brazil, had to hold dollars just to function. This created permanent global demand for the currency. Step 2. Petrodollar recycling. Oil exporting countries earned massive dollar surpluses they couldn't absorb domestically. The excess flowed back into US and Western banks, mostly in treasury bonds. Dollars left to pay for oil, then returned as investments, a pump keeping American capital markets flush while maintaining global demand for dollars. For the US, this meant the exorbitant privilege at full strength, lower borrowing costs than any other country, the ability to run large trade deficits, and the freedom to print money for wars and programs without immediately devaluing the currency. By 1970, even before the arrangement formalized, 82% of global foreign reserves were in dollars. After 1974, dollar dominance deepened for decades. The system had a rarely discussed downstream effect. Surplus petrodollars flowed as loans to developing countries, financing infrastructure and growth from Latin America to Asia to Africa. Between 1973 and 1977, the foreign debts of oil-importing developing nations rose 150%, funding projects like Brazil's Itaipu Dam. Of course, this debt surge set the stage for the 1980s debt crisis, but that's another story. For 50 years, the petrodollar was the hidden architecture of the global economy, invisible to most people, but embedded in every imported product, pension fund, and government borrowing. Its dominance didn't collapse overnight. It eroded quietly at the edges. By the late 1990s, the dollar still held above 70% of global foreign reserves. But the 1999 launch of the euro introduced the first real alternative reserve currency. Europe, as a wealthy and trading bloc, allowed businesses to hold euros just as they held dollars for oil. Over the first 2 decades of the 2000s, the dollar's share gradually slipped from over 70% to around 60%, signaling the slow decline of the petrodollar era. The decline of the dollar's dominance was gradual. So few sounded alarms, but it was real and persistent. The 2008 global financial crisis brought the first serious questions. Countries holding vast reserves in dollar-denominated assets watched American banks teeter on the edge of collapse. Regulators scrambled, mortgage bonds turned worthless, and finance ministries from Beijing to Brasilia began asking whether the structural advantages of the dollar were worth the risk. China asked the question loudest. After 2008, Beijing embarked on a long-term project to internationalize the yuan, setting up offshore trading centers, negotiating currency swap agreements with dozens of countries, and building a payments network called CIPS as an alternative to the dollar-dominated SWIFT system. China was laying the plumbing for a new financial order, but the numbers were stubborn. By the late 2010s, the yuan accounted for just 2% of global foreign exchange reserves, compared to the dollar's 60+%. Infrastructure and political will existed, but the real turning point hadn't arrived. It did in 2022 in the form of a war. Russia's invasion of Ukraine triggered the most sweeping financial sanctions in modern history. The decisive move came when the West froze a massive portion of Russia's foreign currency reserves, decades of savings denominated in dollars suddenly inaccessible overnight. Finance ministers across the developing world watched closely and reached the same conclusion. The United States could weaponize the dollar. What had been presented for 50 years as a neutral store of value was revealed to be a political instrument. This realization shattered the foundation of the petrodollar system. Its strength had always rested on the belief that the dollar was stable, safe, and politically neutral. The 2022 sanctions proved that none of those things, and once the world saw it, the perception could not be reversed. China and Russia responded immediately, accelerating the shift of bilateral trade into yuan and rubles. Chinese firms began buying Russian oil, coal, and energy in yuan instead of dollars. By late 2023, about 1/3 of Russia's foreign trade was settled in yuan, making it the most actively traded foreign currency on the Moscow exchange, a complete inversion from just a few years earlier. The ripple effects went beyond Russia and China. On August 14, 2023, India settled its first crude oil payment to the United Arab Emirates in rupees, covering roughly 1 million barrels without a single dollar involved. Small in absolute terms, yes, but India is the world's 3rd largest oil importer, and the precedent for non-dollar settlements was now set. In December 2022, at the first ever China Gulf Cooperation Council summit in Riyadh, President Xi Jinping urged Gulf monarchies to use the Shanghai Petroleum and Natural Gas Exchange for yuan-denominated oil and gas sales. Around the edges of the summit, Saudi Arabia and China signed $30 billion in commercial deals, signaling a clear new direction in their relationship. The BRICS bloc, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, had long voiced dissatisfaction with a Western-designed financial system. For years, talk of reducing dollar dependence was mostly rhetoric. The 2023 Johannesburg summit changed that. 6 new members joined: Saudi Arabia, Iran, Ethiopia, Egypt, Argentina, and the UAE. 2 of these, Saudi Arabia and the UAE, were major oil exporters whose decisions could make or break the petrodollar system. Their choice to align with the bloc promoting local currency trade sent a signal that cut through the noise. Brazilian President Lula put this political shift into plain words at the summit, underscoring the new reality. The world's financial center of gravity was starting to move. His words were simple but powerful. Why can't we trade in our own currencies? Who decided the dollar would dominate after the gold standard disappeared? A decade earlier, a statement like that from the leader of a major economy would have been whispered in a back corridor. At the 2023 BRICS summit, it came from a podium in front of the world's cameras. The summit did not attempt a common BRICS currency. The economic and political differences among member states made that too complicated, but it did issue a declaration encouraging local currency trade. The expansion to include major oil producers gave the de-dollarization conversation credibility it had never had before. In October 2023, reports surfaced of the first crude oil purchase settled in digital yuan, ECNY, via the Shanghai International Energy Exchange, a government-issued digital currency used to buy physical oil. Then, in June 2024, Saudi Arabia joined the mBridge project, a central bank digital currency platform led by China and the Bank for International Settlements, designed for cross-border settlements in digital currencies. Saudi Arabia's participation, the cornerstone of the petrodollar for 50 years, represented a meaningful shift in posture. Analysts noted that large-scale oil settlements through such systems would take years, but the trend was clear. Media often exaggerates each new bilateral currency deal as evidence that the dollar is finished. The data tells a more nuanced story. The decline is real but gradual. According to International Monetary Fund figures, the dollar's share of global foreign exchange reserves fell from above 70% in the late 1990s to around 57 to 58% by 2024-2025. A genuine, sustained decline over 25 years, but still roughly 2 to 3 times the share held in euros, the next largest reserve currency. Despite decades of Chinese investment and promotion, the yuan remains at just 2.1% of global reserves. Oil pricing shows a similar picture. India, UAE, rupee settlements, and China-Russia yuan trade are growing, but most global oil contracts are still priced and settled in dollars. SWIFT payment data shows the dollar handling 45–50% of international payments by value, the euro around 20–25%, and the yuan only 2 to 5%. 6 years ago, the yuan's share was even smaller. The trajectory points away from the dollar, but the gap remains enormous. For example, 2023 Eurostat data showed that for extra EU imports, including much of its oil, the dollar was used in about 50% of transactions, against the euro's 41%. Federal Reserve research found the dollar accounted for 96% of trade invoicing in the Americas, 74% in Asia Pacific, and 79% elsewhere outside Europe. These shares are built on decades of network effects, and they don't flip overnight because of summit declarations. The honest picture: the petrodollar is eroding in a real structural way. The dollar is moving from monopoly toward a more competitive environment. Anyone claiming the currency is finished has not looked at the numbers. A drop from 70% to 57% of global reserves over 25 years represents trillions of dollars in national savings shifting elsewhere. Sustained over another generation, this trend has serious consequences for U.S. borrowing costs, consumer prices, and the government's ability to finance deficits cheaply. The clearest, most measurable signal of this shift doesn't appear in payment data or BRICS declarations. It shows up in gold. Central banks bought 1,082 tons in 2022, a record for a single year, followed by 1,037 tons in 2023 and 1,045 tons in 2024. That's 3 consecutive years above 1,000 tons, extending a 15-year streak of net buying dating back to 2010. The message is unmistakable. Nations are quietly hedging away from reliance on the dollar. Before 2010, central banks had been net sellers of gold for decades. That trend reversed over the past 15 years, accelerating sharply after 2022. Gold pays no interest, yields nothing, and costs money to store. So central banks buying it are making a deliberate statement. They want an asset that cannot be frozen, sanctioned, or controlled from Washington. The event that most analysts cite as the catalyst for this surge was the freezing of Russian reserves in 2022. Watching dollar assets vanish overnight, reserve managers across emerging markets reached the same conclusion and acted aggressively. What central banks do with their national savings is the clearest signal of how the world's most sophisticated institutional money views the dollar's future. For 15 years, with a sharp spike after 2022, that signal has pointed toward gold. The petrodollar, as it existed from 1974 to roughly 2022, is dying but not dead. That distinction matters. Imagine a tree that dominated the forest for 50 years, its roots sprawling everywhere, its canopy so dense nothing else could grow beneath it. The tree is still standing, still the largest in the forest, but its canopy is thinning. Sunlight is reaching the understory and the forest is slowly changing around it. The measurable changes are real. More oil and energy trade is now settled in non-dollar currencies than at any point since 1974. Infrastructure for non-dollar settlements, CEAPs, M-Bridge, bilateral currency swap lines, and the digital yuan exist today in ways it did not a decade ago. Central banks have recorded 3 consecutive years of record-breaking gold purchases, signaling that they no longer see the dollar as the unchallenged safe haven for national wealth. Political rhetoric around reducing dollar dependence, from BRICS summits to presidential speeches, carries a seriousness it never held before. Yet some constants remain. The dollar still holds 57% of global reserves against the yuan's 2.1%. Oil is predominantly priced in dollars. SWIFT payments continue to flow mainly in dollars. China's capital controls still limit the yuan's appeal to foreign investors. And the dollar's network effect, everyone uses it because everyone else uses it, doesn't vanish overnight. Even a digital yuan pilot or a bilateral rupee deal cannot topple it instantly. For Americans, a gradual transition away from dollar monopoly carries real consequences. Lower global dollar demand translates into higher borrowing costs for the U.S. government. The exorbitant privilege described by Valéry Giscard d'Estaing in the 1960s, the ability to run large deficits cheaply, is slowly eroding. Cheap imported goods, low mortgage rates, and endlessly financeable national debt, all subsidized by dollar dominance, will face real pressure over time. The pace and outcome remain uncertain. China will continue pushing bilateral currency deals and yuan-denominated commodity futures as part of a decades-long strategic plan. Saudi Arabia will hedge, one foot in the dollar world through its currency peg and sovereign wealth fund, the other in the non-dollar world via BRICS membership, M-Bridge participation, and yuan oil discussions. Whether Riyadh eventually makes a decisive break or retreats will be one of the most consequential financial decisions of the next decade. What often goes unsaid is that the petrodollar system was built on belief, the belief that the dollar was stable, safe, and politically neutral. When the U.S. froze Russian reserves in 2022, it proved publicly and permanently that the dollar is not neutral, it is a political weapon. That demonstration, observed by every finance ministry and central bank, carries far more lasting weight than any single trade deal or summit declaration. You cannot unring that bell. The petrodollar was born from American ingenuity during a crisis. A dying currency was backed not by gold, but by the black gold the world burned every day. For 50 years, that system worked beautifully. Today, the world has options and is carefully, methodically building the infrastructure to use them. The death of the petrodollar may take another generation, but the process has already begun. Understanding it through history and hard data rather than panicked headlines is what real financial clarity looks like in the 21st century.
Thank you for watching. I hope you heard everything Professor Jiang said concerning dollar. What do you think? Everything he said in this video, is it true? Are they going to come to pass? Or will they work if you are using dollar How are you going to withdraw all the dollars? Because you never know what will happen. But withdrawing all the dollars, selling them, is it the answer? Drop your opinion in the comment section. For more news and updates like this, subscribe. See you in the next one. But I really appreciate your time for watching my videos. Bye for now.